Hey guys, thanks so much for joining. Welcome to Pilates with Danny. I'm joining you today from the traditional unceded territories of the Kwagil First Nations in North Vancouver Island. Let's get to it. For today's workout, you're going to want to have a mix of things. You're going to want to have a loop band of the resistance of your choice, a flat band, as always, our trusty yoga block, and a pair of dumbbells. I'm going to recommend going from 1 to 3 pounds. You don't want to go too heavy. And we're going to do some rotator cuff and postural work to help correct any postural problems that you may have. This unfortunately is very common in our day-to-day life with, computer work or being on our phones, etc., carrying all sorts of stuff. Or if you're like me, working in healthcare, being hunched over patients all the time, we slowly round through the posture. And unfortunately, as a result, I have had multiple rotator cuff injuries as a result. So my hope is to help you get past that. So today we're going to warm up on our backs, actually. You're going to want to have your flat band handy and your yoga mat and your yoga block, obviously. You're going to place your block between the knees. Yeah, we're going to come down to the ground. As always, when I'm laying on the floor, I naturally have this space under my back. I want to think about drawing the belly button to the ground to flatten the spine. I'm going to then think about my rib cage. I want to draw those ribs down to the floor. With my pelvis, you want to think of shortening the space from the pubic bone to the bottom of the ribs and almost curl that lower back a little bit off the ground. Okay, I'm going to pull my sweater down now because it is a chilly day here on the island. And we're going to draw that pelvis up, shortening that space. Pull that pelvic floor up and in. So when we talk about pelvic floor engagement, I want you to think of those openings that you have in the pelvis from which you might need to use the washroom, or if you're a biological female, to give birth to a child. And I want you to think of squeezing all of those openings closed. So imagine you really have to pee your pants. You're going to like squeeze those muscles. If you have a really big air bubble coming and it's a very inopportune moment to let it go, you want to squeeze and pull that back inside. Good. Pull all those muscles up and inwards and keep that muscle tone going. From here, I'm going to draw my thighs together, activating through the inner thighs and continuing to curl my pelvis a little bit off the mat, so a little up in this direction. Draw those ribs down. Everything in my midsection is working. You might already feel the burn. If you do, I love that for you. You want to have no space between the mat and your back. And from here, we're going to grab our loop band. We're going to place it around our wrists. And we're going to shrug our shoulders forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. Great work. So think nice straight arms, reach for the sky, and rotate the instep of the elbow up towards your face. So don't have the instep pointing towards each other like this. Rather have them rotated forward. I know it's a little hard to see with the sweater on, so I'll show you like this. I don't want my elbows this way. I want them this way. So instep faces forward. So continuing our scapular shrugs forward and back, and keep a little bit of tension here in the loop band. So I think you do want to actively push your hands a little bit apart. Keep drawing those legs together. Keep pulling that pelvic floor up and in, and pull the belly button down to the ground for 3, 2, and 1. Good. Now, holding the same engagement, I'm going to reach my arms overhead. I'm only going to go to the point that I feel my ribs want to buckle upwards, and I'm going to pull it back. Good. Keep drawing that belly button down to the ground. Keep the spine flat to the floor. Good. I'm inhaling as I reach, exhaling as I'm exerting effort. Good. And I want you to think that while you're doing this, you're pulling all through these muscles down the sides, down the ribs, all through the lats to pull those hands back. Okay. So these are the muscles that we want to be activating. And again, keep the instep of the elbow rotated towards your face. Good. You may feel this pulling all along the ribs. Good. This is nice shoulder mobility warm up as well as conditioning because we're keeping some tension in our band. Keep squeezing the thighs together here. Keep drawing that pelvic floor up and inwards. Keep drawing that belly button to the ground for 3, 2, and 1. Great. We're going to bring our hands back up to be over our shoulders. We're going to lift our legs to start to activate more through the belly. So knees are going to be directly over the hips. Shins are going to be parallel to the mat. I'm going to draw my belly button to the ground, pull that pelvic floor up and inwards, flattening the back to the ground. I'm going to pulse my hands open, open. So pressing my hands apart from each other. Good. Keep squeezing through the belly. Keep squeezing the legs into that yoga block. So actively trying to touch your knees through the sides of the foam. Pretty aggressive on the inner thighs if you're doing it right. Keep squeezing that pelvic floor up and inwards. Great work. Nice straight elbows here. Draw that belly button down. Keep those ribs tucked down. Great work. Keep it going for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Drop your loop band. From here, let's just do a little bit of ab work, placing our hands against the thighs. Keep that spine flat to the ground. Keep the legs squeezed in together. Draw that pelvic floor up and in. Start to press your hands into your legs. Don't let your legs move. Keep the shins parallel to the floor here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Squeeze the pelvic floor and down. Great work. Drop your block. From here, come on up. Grab a seat on your mat. We're going to grab our band. We're going to grab our dumbbells. You're going to take your yoga block. You're going to place it in between the thighs. So if you see me from the side for a moment, whenever I'm sitting, I tend to want to push my ribs forward. So I want you to think, draw the ribs in, draw the belly button in, engage pelvic floor, pull everything up, lengthen the spine. Okay? So block between the legs, draw the thighs together. We're going to take our band, place it under our shins. I'm going to grab, so you have two options here. You can either go with no dumbbell if you're just getting into things, or if you have been conditioning your shoulders for a while, you can do both. You would try with both and then just ditch the weight, whatever feels good for you. So I'm going to grab my band so that I have tension when my elbow is bent at 90. So I'm already working here. I recognize I'm wearing a big sweater. It's a little hard to see, but my elbow is not glued to my side. I'm floating it off to the side here. I'm going to draw those ribs in, lengthen the spine, draw the belly button in. I'm going to open to the side and come back. Exhale, open to the side and come back. Beautiful. Open to the side, come back. Good. Keeping it going. Keep drawing that pelvic floor up and inwards. Nice, slow, deep breaths. And think that as you're bringing your hand out to the side, you want to drive your knuckles towards the wall behind you. This should help you activate more through the lats and the lower sides of the rib cage. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Great work. Other side. Here we go, coming right up. Elbow is floating just off the side. Elbow bent at 90. Tuck the ribs, tuck the belly button. Engage pelvic floor. You're exhaling as we work, inhaling as we recover. Keep squeezing the thighs together. Squeezing that pelvic floor up and inwards. Beautiful work. Feel the burn. We love it. Great. Keep breathing. Keep actively drawing the thighs together. Squeeze that block as much as you can. Draw the belly button into the spine. Pull that pelvic floor in. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Grabbing our weight, coming back to the other side. We're going to bring, we're going to want some tension here. Elbow stays bent at 90. This time we're going to bring our elbow a little higher, so you might want to adjust your band accordingly. And you're going to want to have your elbow in line with the shoulder. And we're going to come up and down. I've got a little too much tension here. There we go. Up and down. Up and down. So try to think you're keeping that upper arm parallel to the ground. We're never moving it. You want to keep that elbow stationary over the same spot on the floor. And it's rotating from the shoulder joint. That shoulder joint is rotating as you bring your hand up and down. Okay. Now, one thing to be really careful when you're doing this is with your wrist. What we tend to do is kind of buckle our wrists. I want you to think, curl your fingers a little bit this way, just to keep your wrists in nice, clean, straight alignment. Keep drawing those ribs in, squeezing that pelvic floor. Give me 2 more. And last one. Great work. Other side. Here we go. Bring that elbow up. Draw that shoulder blade down towards the ground, tuck the ribs, lengthen the spine, engage pelvic floor, squeeze the legs together. So much to remember right now. From here, we're going to come up and down. And again, watch that wrist. Nice straight line through that wrist. So think you might need to curl your fingers a little bit forward. Great work. Keeping that elbow stationary over the same spot on your mat. And depending on your shoulder mobility, you may actually need to bring your elbow a little bit more like towards the front as opposed to having it forced back. That's okay. This is my bad side, so I have to go a little bit easier on it. Good. Keeping it going. Great work. Keep those ribs drawn in. Keep sitting tall. 5, 4, squeeze your pelvic floor. 3, 2, last one, and 1. Beautiful work. Come on down. Excellent. So from here, let's flip it over. Feel free to grab some water if you'd like. We are going to take our loop band. We're going to place it around our ankles. So we're getting a little bit of hip activation while we were doing this. And we are going to come face down on our mat. I'm just going to move my microphone over. There we go. So we're going to place our foreheads on the mat here. And there we go. Forehead to the mat. We're going to take our dumbbells, or you can go without the weights, whatever feels good for you. You're going to have them in your hands. So we're going to talk really quickly about what to do with our legs. What we commonly do in these exercises when we're face down is relax the legs and let the kneecaps rest on the ground. I want you to think, activate through the quads, lift the kneecaps upwards. We're going to lift and float our feet off the ground, walk our feet wider apart so you have some tension in your band. And then from here, think you're going to draw the belly button to the spine. Again, think with your pelvis. You want to curl your pelvis a little bit forward, so scoop it towards the ground. You should feel this start to activate through the lower belly as it draws the belly button up and inwards. This is important because this is going to ensure that your belly is nice and strongly engaged to protect the lower back. From here, grab your dumbbells, have the weights just behind the ears. We're going to bring our elbows to the floor and to the sky. To the floor, to the sky. Very good. Keep drawing that belly button to the spine, keeping the kneecaps off the ground. And every time you lift the elbows up, think you're drawing your shoulder blades down and together towards your feet. Good. Keeping it going. Beautiful. Exhale as you lift. Inhale as you come down. Keep squeezing the belly. Pull that pelvic floor up and inwards, pulling all 3 of those openings closed. Or if you're a biological male, those 2 openings. Think you're going to pee your pants. Oh no, don't do it. Pull it up and inwards. Keep it going for 3, 2, and 1. Gorgeous. From here, come on up. You can take a sec, grab some water, relax, loosen the hips. What we're going to do next is I'm going to have my forehead on the ground. Again, same engagement as before. Weights or no weights, it's your decision. If my thumbs are to the ground, I'm going to run my thumbs along my thigh. So now my thumbs are pointing up, my palms are out. Okay? Same engagement as before. Keep the kneecaps off the ground. Activate through the quads. Draw that belly button up and inwards. Tilt that pelvis forward. Deep breath in. As I exhale, I'm going to lift my chest off the ground, look towards just the front of my mat, rotate my hands out. As I inhale, rotate the hands back, come down with the chest. And as I exhale, I'm going to lift and look forward just towards the front of the mat. So make sure as you're doing this, you don't want to be forcing your neck in some weird angle. I think you want to lengthen through the neck. Keep that chin tucked. Keep squeezing through the pelvic floor. Keep those kneecaps off the ground. And as I'm doing this rotation with my arms, it's actually the shoulder joint that's rotating. Okay, so think you're rolling the shoulder forward here, rolling it down and back. Good. Inhale down. Exhale up. Keep that pelvic floor drawn up and inwards. Keeping it going. Great work. 5 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Great work. Drop those weights. From here, we're going to grab our yoga block. We're going to come face down again, just as before. Here we go. Forehead to the mat. So thighs are active here. Forehead to the ground. We're going to exhale as we lift the block up overhead, bringing it down. Up overhead, bringing it down. Keep drawing that belly button into the spine. Keep tilting that pelvis forward. Insteps of the elbow are rotated up towards the sky. Draw those shoulder blades down and away from you. Keep the kneecaps off the ground. Keep squeezing the belly. Engage your pelvic floor. Great work. Give me 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. And release. Good job. Come on back here. Let's give our shoulders a little stretch. So you can grab a seat, reaching one arm across here. Try to pull the shoulder down and away from you as you pull that arm across your body. Release. Again, other side. And here again, think sit nice and tall, lengthen through the spine, tuck the ribs, draw that belly button inwards. Engage your pelvic floor. Reach one arm over top, grab that elbow, push it down. Sit nice and tall here. Keep that pelvic floor drawn inwards. Other side. Keep those ribs tucked. Keep that pelvic floor engaged. Awesome. And release. From here, let's do a nice side body stretch just to release all those good muscles that we've been activating so we can have one leg straight and one leg bent. You have 2 options here. You can place one hand on your leg or on the ground if you'd like to make it a little deeper. Reach overhead with that top arm. Nice stretch to the side body. And think you want to keep this back hip actively pressed towards the ground. Big stretch here. Continue to draw that pelvic floor up and inwards. Beautiful work. And as always, I invite you to hold these stretches for longer or do a much more comprehensive cool down. Never a bad idea. Gotta love some stretching. So important. And as we finish this class, take a moment, feel free to close your eyes. Reflect on the hard work that you've done today for your body. Express some gratitude for yourself with no judgment, because you did great. We're going to sit to the side, fingers point towards you. You're going to bend the elbows, scoot your bum away. Now think you're going to drive your elbows and chest in opposite directions. Oh, that feels great. So make sure you're keeping your elbows in line with the wrists and shoulders. You don't want to let them go out to the sides here. Drive that chest up a little bit more if you can. Great work. And release. From here, we're going to sit it back. We're going to keep a bit of a bend in the knees here. You're going to take one hand, you're going to reach across to grab the outside of the opposite foot. You're going to try to push that leg away from you. While you're doing that, think you're pulling back through this arm as if you were starting a chainsaw. You should feel a nice pull all through the bottom margin of your shoulder blade here. Good. Holding it here. Nice deep stretch. Other side. Slow, deep breaths. Awesome. And we're going to finish off with one final stretch here. So if you're an avid yogi, probably familiar with your puppy stretch. So knees beneath the hips, walk the hands forward. Bring your forehead to the mat. I'm going to keep my elbows in line with my shoulders. I'm going to grab onto my blocks. So a little modification here. Draw the ribs up and inwards. Draw the belly button to the spine. Engage the pelvic floor. And from here, we're just going to bend at the elbows. Draw that block to bring it to the upper back and hold. If this feels good for you, you can float your forehead off the mat and press the chest a little bit deeper. I'm going to recommend, however, if you do this, keep drawing those ribs up and inward. So don't flare that rib cage down to the ground. Keep it drawn in. Keep that belly nice and active. Keep that pelvic floor drawn in. One more deep breath in and out. And whenever you're ready, come on out. Walk yourself out of it. Thank you again so much for joining me. I really hope you had a great time.